All right. So glad to see so many of you. And this, what's different is usually when I go to the Northeast conferences, I know half of the people, right? So this is very different for me. I know a few of you as parents, but not all of you, or But I'm glad that we are finally meeting. So I'm very proud to say that I've been given this opportunity, and really grateful to FPWR, because this is not a drug company funded study, and I don't have all the money to cover your hotel expenses. But I'm going to talk about a medicine which is already FDA approved, which is available in the market, and which is actually generic, so the drug company that manufactured it, Shire, doesn't care about what I'm doing with it, okay? So with that, what I'm going to talk about is impulse control in patients with PWS and how we need to find ways to treat it. Now, impulse control is our ability, which comes from the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, basically the controller of the brain, the executive function provider of the brain, which tells the subcortex, the more primitive part of the brain, to take a step back and think before you do, right? And if you think about your children, your loved ones, that is a basic difficulty for them. The chairs flying through the air before they can, when they're mad about something, before they can stop themselves. They're not, and their aggression or their behavior is often reactive, right? Something happens, it upsets them, and bam, there's a reaction. It's not proactive, right? It's not like a planned aggression where they're like thinking ahead for days in a row and then, being aggressive. It's in the moment, and that is impulsivity. Now, impulsivity can come due to many reasons, but very common comorbidities in patients with PWS are things like ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity activity disorder, and part of it is impulse control issues. They're also, and then intrinsic to PWS, there is a difficulty in learning from their own behavior. So, for example, if they ask you, okay, when, common story in all of your households, I'm sure many of your households is, okay, when is my appointment with my doctor? When am I seeing Dr. Singh? When am I seeing Dr. Singh? Oh, is it tomorrow? Is it tomorrow? Is it tomorrow? Is it? And you've already told them 200 times that it's tomorrow, but they can't, they want you to hear it. So it's, for most people, when they've heard it a few times and they know that you're getting upset by asking you, it becomes, instead of a reward, it becomes a punishment to see that affect on you, right? But they don't respond to that affect. They can't respond to that affect. And it looks like anxiety, and many of you who know me have heard me say anxiety is kind of tenuous in patients with PWS, especially because it may be linked to impulse control issues. Okay, I have 3.5 minutes. Okay, so, all right. So currently, the medicines which are utilized, many of your children might be on SSRIs, medicines like fluoxetine and sertraline. And then many must be on atypical antipsychotics. And there are important roles for those medicines as well. But very often, those medicines are being prescribed for aggression and impulse control. And that's not their indication. Not always. Now, atypical antipsychotics are helpful for impulse control, but they have a lot of side effects, weight gain included, which is, as you can imagine, is a big issue. Okay, so and then the other thing is there are if you sort of like go on. Do you guys know PubMed? PubMed? Okay, good. So if you don't, you should know PubMed, and if you like, that's a good resource to look at real data. But it's very hardcore research stuff. So you can take papers that you're interested in to your doctor, and they can decipher it for you if you need that kind of level of detail. So put my name in, and there's a paper that just got released on cycloid psychosis, and that is important for you guys to know about, because it's very common to have psychotic symptoms in PWS. That's another reason to kind of minimize the use of unnecessary medications, including stimulants and SSRIs. They are useful when they are truly needed, but not all the time. They can have side effects. Okay, stimulants can worsen skin picking as well. So, and NAC is relatively safe, although it comes with some warnings. So basically, we need safer and effective options. So in my clinical practice, I ran down the list of everything that I can use for my first patient with PWS 5.5 years ago, and I was like, okay, wait a second, I can't use any of these without, having sleepless nights, okay? So I was like, okay, what should I do? So I had, being a child psychiatrist, I had utilized Guanfacine, which is an ADHD, which is approved for ADHD, many times, and in particular, it is very helpful for impulse control. So looking at the symptoms of my first patient, I was like, okay, you know what, let's try Guanfacine. And lo and behold, it was very helpful for her. And since then, I've utilized it many, many times. So what is Guanfacine? It's an alpha-2 agonist, so it's like a general calmer downer, which works on the central nervous system, okay? It's a mild blood pressure a reducer, like antihypertensive, and it moderates the action. Basically, it improves the activity of the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, hence reducing impulse control issues. Okay, and then it is helpful. It is FDA approved for ADHD, and it has been studied in patients with autism. And as you know, it's very common for patients with PWS to have autism symptoms in 26 seconds. Okay, all right. So 27. So this is, we've already published on the use of Guanfacine extended release in patients, but this was a retrospective studies. We know anecdotally and through a retrospective study conducted in a non-blinded environment that it is helpful. Now, my patients will tell you, and their parents will tell you that it is helpful. But unless, all right, out of time. All right, so unless people like yourselves make the effort of coming in and joining this blinded controlled study, we cannot put the word out. There's no company funded, like I said. No one's pushing it. It's just one person and FPWR. Thankfully, they have funded this study, so I can do this. So please make an effort to reach out to us. I'm going to give you, cut to the chase. All right. So, Melissa Allman is my coordinator. Our institution has one of the highest cohorts of patients with PWS, but clearly you all are not part of it. We are we do help with meals and all of that, of course, and we have all of the IRB supports, and it's a very well-run research institution that this study will be conducted in. We also have Dr. Angulo's team, who is my co-PI in this. You guys know, how many of you know Maurice Angulo? All right, good. Okay, so he's my friend and mentor. So he's going to be hand in hand with all of you if you join the study. This is the number. This is the email. I didn't put my email address in here, but it's deepan.singh@nyulangone.org, right? And I see patients in private practices, in my practice in the hospital as well, but the study is separate, but the study, I am the PI, so you'll be seeing me, everyone who goes through the study. All right, thank you so much for your attention. I'm here to answer questions.
So we can take one or two questions from the audience if you want to run up to a mic real quick. We will also be taking questions at the when we've completed all of the panels. Don't want to do that.
Thank you. I was just wondering what side effects you've seen. Firstly, what side effects you have seen with it. Secondly, how is the drug actually excreted? And I've forgotten the third one.
Okay, these two are important questions, and given another 30 seconds, I would have gotten to them. So for the first part, the side effects, the most common side effect of this medication is sedation. Excessive daytime sedation is already an issue in PWS. So that comes, but it is self-limited.
Yep.
It takes 4 days to achieve a steady state, and that is usually 4 to 7 days is what I see in clinical practice, where the sedation goes down. And I basically increase it, and every time you increase the dosage,
say that.
You go through the same for, but it's not the kind of sedation that comes with, say, a benzodiazepine, right? Where it is sort of like it doesn't affect the respiratory system at all.
Yep.
Okay, there's no, and it does not cause weight gain. Those are the common side effects. Once you're at much higher dosages of this medicine, then it's important not to stop it suddenly, because although it's a weak antihypertensive, once it's at that high dose, if you suddenly stop it, then the blood pressure might go up.
Yep.
But other than that, it's pretty well tolerated.
Right. Okay.
Thank
And
And what was the other question? Sorry.
the excretion.
Oh, excretion. So it is excreted through the liver, right? But it is not a strong inducer or inhibitor of the cytochrome P450. So it doesn't fight with the other medicines as much, and it doesn't seem to harm liver functioning. So at low dosages. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, you got the third question. You remember the third question?
Yeah, I just wondered about, do you find differences in ability to focus? Once you control the impulsivity, does that improve, or is that separate?
Oh, yes, so focus does improve. And in patients with autism, and I see that in clinical practice as well, it improves verbal communication, which is huge. So for those of you who have patients with PWS who also have autism and lower verbal abilities, this is an additional advantage.